Let's jump right into it with Kyrie Irving. Was his decision or impending decision, reported decision to return to the Nets just his only best option, do you think, for him?
You're asking a very clean question, Rich. I don't quite understand 100% all the sides on this game. I was viewing it a certain way, and then I talked to executives in the league, and they view it a completely different way. I was viewing it as this is what the Nets wanted and that this buys them time. And, they can extend with him later on. It turns down the pressure. It turns down the pressure with Durant. But I talked to a number of executives who, believe that this doesn't mean it's over. That, the Nets made it very clear that they didn't want the status quo and that this would be potentially the status quo. So I wish I could give you a stronger answer, but all I can say right now is I don't know. I'm just going to have to wait and watch for a little bit. Kyrie also has to fill out the paperwork. It's one thing to announce you're picking up the option. And, normally when somebody says they're picking up the option, the paperwork is a formality. But until the Nets formally announce that Kyrie's opted into his contract, which would be a course of business, let's just not 100% assume anything.
So let's walk through it then piece by piece. Could this be the sign part of a sign and trade, right, where he signs here?
No.
What?
This is all. I apologize, Rich. It's all salary cap ease.
Okay.
Once you opt into a contract, there's no sign and trade. It's not possible.
Okay.
And the other thing is that a bunch of different rules happen with a sign and trade. The NBA, for specific reasons, has made sign and trade difficult. So when the Nets said to Kyrie, go ahead and look for a sign and trade, they did that knowing it was very unlikely he'd be able to find one. If you want me to go into chapter and verse as to why, I'd be glad to, or you can just trust me. It's up to you.
I will trust you. I will trust you. Yeah. I'll take your cue.
Sign and trades they happen, obviously, so I don't want to make it sound like they're impossible, but they're complicated because there's a whole set of rules that comes along with them. When you opt into a contract, then you can be traded, but it's just a standard trade. But the only way you can trade a free agent is a sign and trade, and Kyrie will now not be a free agent. The question is he just going to be back with the Nets and everybody's going to sing Kumbaya? Because very clearly what Sean Marks, the general manager, said at the end of the season was we can't have a repeat of last year. And, the idea was that there would be a contract that would have some protections for the Nets on number of games played and things like that. And with Kyrie's decision to opt in, it potentially sets up a repeat of last year.
Okay, so you're saying Kyrie's going nowhere for the upcoming season. He's in Brooklyn,
Rich,
end of story.
I don't know what's going to happen.
But if he can't be, can he be traded, or he's just?
Yes, he absolutely can be traded. Will he be traded? I don't know.
Okay, and so Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show. You've mentioned a couple times in this conversation that the Nets don't want status quo, and I know you also mentioned just yesterday that the Nets, quote unquote, would rather lose both stars than go through what they went through last season. Now, New York City has lifted its vaccine mandate, and I don't see that coming back anytime soon. So they won't go through technically what they went through last season on the vaccine mandate. What do you and the Nets mean by this? Going through last season.
Well, I think here's the thing you have to understand. We don't really know where Kevin Durant is. And if Kyrie Irving had opted out of his contract and went and signed with the Lakers, and the Nets lost Kyrie Irving for nothing, the belief in the league, and Kevin could feel one way on Monday and a different on Tuesday. So I want to be 1,000% clear here that this is all very fluid. But the belief in the league is that Durant would not be comfortable remaining with the Nets in that situation. So when the Nets were playing hardball with Kyrie, and they were basically saying, we're not going to give you the maximum contract extension that you want. And Kyrie was saber-rattling that he was going to opt out of his contract because asking for permission to look for a sign and trade, Rich, meant he was going to opt out of his contract. That one has to go with the other.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyrie was saber-rattling, and the Nets were saber-rattling. And so if the Nets were risking Kyrie walking, which they 1 billion% were, they knew that they were risking Durant asking for a trade. And the reason that they were playing hardball with Kyrie was because they wanted to get into an understanding or a contract that they had some protection over the way Kyrie went about the last couple of seasons. And so my point was, their strategy was, even if this costs us Durant, we are not going to bend down to fold towards Kyrie. And it wasn't just about the vaccine mandate. The entire way Kyrie has operated within the Nets for the last few years was building towards last season. So it's really more about, Kyrie has openly said, I don't need a coach. I'm the general manager. Kevin and I are the general managers. It's much more than just about the vaccine mandate there.